The midterm elections are drawing near, meaning fact-based reporting is more important than ever. I'm Libby Dankman, host of Soundside, where we bring you news and conversation rooted in the Pacific Northwest. We delve beyond the headlines to bring you different perspectives on stories that impact your life right here in Washington State. And we're easy to find, Monday through Thursday at noon and 8 p.m. on KUOW 94.9 FM. Or you can listen anytime on the KUOW app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The United States has always been full of scammers, from snake oil salesmen promising miracle cures to stockbrokers selling Ponzi schemes.
But now, swindlers and thieves have a new tool in their toolbox: AI.
Phone scams are nothing new, but thanks to artificial intelligence, they are getting more sophisticated and more believable.
Scammers can use artificial intelligence to create fake videos.
Brave new world. So it can also lead to a lot of people getting conned out of money.
He lost everything he'd saved up to someone he never met.
The FBI says cybercrimes involving AI stole nearly $1 billion from 22,000 Americans last year, and the situation is only getting worse. This is Booming. I'm Joshua McNichols.
And I'm Monica Nicholsberg. Today, AI has turbocharged the scam industry. So how can we protect ourselves? That's coming up.
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Monica, do you consider yourself pretty scam resistant? Like, would you recognize a scam if you saw one and be able to avoid it?
I'd like to think I am, but I have fallen for some small stuff in the past. It's easy to click a tricky link when you're moving fast or multitasking.
Yes. I mean, my siblings and I are always on the lookout for scams because when my mom was still living in her house before she was diagnosed with dementia, she was giving out her home address and bank routing information to anyone on the internet who asked. We helped her by taking over her finances, which involved canceling some very strange orders for like CBD gummies, and moving her into an apartment with staff that care for people with Alzheimer's.
So you're pretty savvy about these kinds of things.
I mean, we like to think we are, but the other day, I got a letter in the mail, and it looked like it came from U.S. Bank, and I swear to you, it looked totally legit. And I scrawled a message to my family on the front of the letter. It said, "This is real, don't throw it away."
But let me guess, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And the guests I'm interviewing today, you'll hear from them in a minute, told me it might be faked. And AI is helping scammers make letters like that very convincing.
Yeah, we've come a long way from the Pope in the puffy jacket fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
And studies show that AI agents are better at building trust with their marks than humans.
Yeah.
Plus, it's easier than ever to build a website or make a video that looks like something legit. And it's left me wondering what I'm going to do when AI helps craft the perfect pitch to fool me, because it wouldn't be that hard to find some kind of personal hook.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to get dozens of Seattle Public School emails with my son starting kindergarten, not to give anybody any free ideas out there. Mm-hmm. But it's not that hard to trick busy people.
Yeah, for sure. That's one reason why I reached out to the state attorney general. And his office sent me his two biggest experts on AI cybercrime. I wanted to get their recommendations on how we can protect ourselves.
My name is Yuki Ishizuka, and I'm in the policy division of the Attorney General's office here in Washington State.
My name is Andrea Alegrett, and I'm an assistant attorney general with the Washington Attorney General's office.
So we're talking about AI scams today. And before we get into examples, I want to start with the basics. Like when we say an AI scam, what makes a scam an AI scam? You know, what is AI bringing to the scammer's toolkit that wasn't there before?
So AI hasn't necessarily created new scams. They've just amplified existing scams. And what AI brings to these scams is they make them much more believable. They make them much more convincing, harder to detect. And scammers are able to operate at such a larger scale than ever before. And that's how we're really seeing AI being utilized to deceive people.
Yeah. Let's drill down on a couple of types of scams. And I'd like to start with deepfake, celebrity, and politician ads, making offers that are too good to be true. I'm going to play you one. It's a fake Bernie Sanders supposedly offering people $2,500 in cash if they act quickly.
Something incredibly important has happened, and you probably didn't even hear about it. We passed the relief grant, $2,500 for the working people of this country. This is not a loan. This is not another bailout for billionaires. This is for you, for ordinary Americans, and you don't have to pay it back. But here's the catch. These funds are limited, and yes, there are already talks that the current administration may try to quietly roll this back.
This comes from reporting from the Tech Transparency Project, and they uncovered that a group called RFI News Group paid Facebook $100 to place this ad, and it reached over 1 million people.
Wow.
So when you listen to that, what are the signs that it's a scam?
Well, one is the source of where you're getting this information, I think, is what people should always be very critical about. In addition to that, like, what a gift. This seems way too good to be true, and something that if it was real, we would all be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We would be seeing it in the media. We'd be able to get it from credible, reliable sources. And scammers try to create this sense of you're going to miss out on this great opportunity by creating this sense of urgency and pulling the consumer in to this kind of fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I think it's really important for consumers to kind of assess like how they're feeling when they're watching this ad. Do I feel scared? Do I feel like I'm missing out? Do I feel like I need to act right away?
To your question about, how does a consumer know? How do they detect? I mean, one of the things Andrea mentioned was the source. So I think in the past, I would get texts about things that I wouldn't think would come in a text, right? Why is Amazon texting me about this order? I usually get emails. They usually look different, or there's usually some notification on my app. It's unusual that I would get a text. And so that would often be an alert. At least would start your spidey sense to say, maybe something's not right here. Mm-hmm. In this instance, you said it was a Facebook ad. And that's something that's actually been a trend that's emerging, that these scams and frauds are not going these unconventional ways that raise alerts. But if you're on a reputable platform that's powered by Facebook ads, or you're on Facebook and you see an advertisement, that gives this kind of veneer of authenticity that's maybe a little harder to detect. So the scams are not getting more difficult to detect just by virtue of AI, although that one I think is because it's easier to replicate Bernie Sanders than it used to be, but also because they're becoming more mainstream and arriving to consumers in more mainstream channels.
How good are they getting at fooling people?
I think they're getting quite good. I may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'd like to feel that I'm pretty sensitive to these types of things based on my work in the long work in the tech industry. But even recently, I've kept getting multiple phone calls from a number that I didn't recognize that I kept putting to voicemail. But then I worried that there was maybe a family member trying to contact me with an urgent issue. So I picked up the phone and was informed that a credit card I had was used to purchase $7,000 worth of illegal guns, and that I needed to call the FBI and to clear my name. And they were purporting to be from my credit card company. They were quite convincing. I was very skeptical, but then eventually terminated the conversation, immediately called American Express, and they said, yes, that was ridiculous. That was not us.
What were they asking from you? Were they asking for money?
They were asking me to call a number at the FBI office.
So they gave you the number?
They gave me a number.
So I assume it wasn't really to the FBI.
I assume so as well, though I never tried to verify. And then to come back to them with a report, mm-hmm. that maybe just an incident report that they would use to, do something with my credit card. So it didn't make sense to me at all, like what the path was. And this was another red flag. If what they ask doesn't make sense, then that's another red flag.
Anything you want to add to that?
It's just, I would imagine that at that end of that conversation, were you to continue, there would be some sort of, okay, we just need to verify your account now. And then you've put in so much effort to try to confirm and get them what they need. And then it would potentially be less suspicious at that point to be like, oh, yeah, let me make sure you can verify my account so that you can attach this report. And that's really where they would get you. And because AI scams are able to operate at such a large scale, they only need a couple of people to fall for it to be profitable. Mm-hmm. It's not that expensive now that you don't need real people on the phone anymore.
The other kind of scam I want to ask you about is called a pig butchering scam, which does not involve any pigs. So I'll start with you, Andrea. What is a pig butchering scam, and how has AI made them more dangerous?
So a pig butchering scam is essentially where a scammer really invests in an individual over time, whether it's a friendship or whether it's a romantic relationship, and with the goal of creating this trust between the two individuals. Eventually, the request will be for some type of investment, like, oh, I'm making all this money here, or, oh, maybe I need some help. Could you send some money? They usually include doctored photos of accounts, whether it's like profits or whatnot. And the way AI has changed this is that one person can be having multiple conversations at a time. Mm-hmm. You might get it as a text message that says, hey, I'm in Seattle, ? And then you respond, who is this? And they're like, oh, wrong number. But now that I have you, how you doing? Mm-hmm. And I know I've gotten these messages. And the goal is to really just eventually get them to give you some money. They'll even, over time, maybe let you take some money back to kind of continue to build that trust. And with AI, it's easier to create fake photos and have multiple conversations.
One of the things AI is very good at doing is role playing. So, and this can be used for beneficial purposes and also can be used for insidious purposes. So you can have AI be a life coach or tell you things, and it can be trained that way. So you can also train an AI to deceive. You give it an objective, you give it some parameters, you tell it, like the tone to act. Maybe you give it information about your target, or you have a lot of data based on previous interactions that inform, like, oh, these are the right types of things to say in order to achieve your desired result. So these AIs can manipulate conversations towards specific objectives, and that's one of the dangers.
They certainly could scrub stuff from the internet, whether it's social media posts or other information they can find. But I think what Yuki was kind of talking about, how they can create this relationship that even if it's a blank slate when you start having the conversation, they retain everything you've said. And so they're highly personalized over time just by your own interaction with them.
In the last month or so, we've heard a number of these dramatic stories about AIs going rogue, escaping their controlled testing environments, and doing things they weren't supposed to, like hacking into another company's system. And this makes me curious, how close are we to an age where autonomous AI agents could execute scams on their own?
I'd be surprised if that wasn't already happening.
Really?
Yes. AI agents are very capable, and they're very unpredictable. You would think that the most powerful AI companies in the world with the largest capabilities, testing an unreleased model in a supposedly secure environment and giving it a task would be able to, that would be a safe thing for it to do. Turns out it's not. You give it to AI agent a job, and it will go through extraordinary means to achieve its objective. And so you can think about giving an AI agent the objective of maximizing the number of people it contacts actually converting to take a specific action. And you can imagine the lengths that AI agent will go to achieve that and how creative and innovative it would be. And so I think the whole area of AI agent, if you think about the whole concept of AI, which is that it replicates human intelligence, AI agents now replicate human intelligence, but also combine that with action. And so you have these agents that are kind of subject to human control, but also to some degree you're ceding control to it. And now they're acting and taking actions in the world on your behalf. And we really don't have the regulatory regimes to address those types of scenarios. That's an area where we're really going to have to focus on who's responsible for that AI agent and what they do.
And it strikes me that in the same way as AI agents could be responsible for committing large amounts of fraud, they could also be susceptible to fraud. I imagine that if you've got an agent out there doing work on your behalf, maybe making restaurant reservations, or you've given it your credit card and asked it to purchase your groceries according to a list or something, I don't know. I could imagine a way of injecting into that agent's workflow some other agent's fraudulent request.
And this is happening. You have environments where AI agents are talking to each other and having conversations and building. There's now this emerging field of this self-training AI, where like, oh, if we let AI, usually these models have been trained based on human input and parameters. And now they're developing the capability to get smarter without even, with minimal human activity. This has incredible potential, but again, has incredible risks. And then when you have two of these self-learning AIs talking to each other, what are they saying? Do we have visibility into that? And that's to me, a very kind of scary prospect, but something that we just need to understand better and figure out what the right guardrails for those conversations are.
Okay, so we've been talking about how AI has really turbocharged the ability of scammers to reach further and be even more deceptive. So how are consumers supposed to protect themselves?
Well, I think that consumers should take these 3 steps. And this applies to all sorts of scams, but I think particularly AI scams because of the sense of urgency that they create. So step 1 is to pause. Break the scammer's fake urgency cycle. Mm-hmm. Take a beat. The fact that something has to happen fast might be the first warning sign that it's a scam.
Yeah.
Step 2 is to think and just be really skeptical and critical of the information you're getting. Where did I get this from? Facebook? Mm-hmm. That's interesting. How am I feeling right now? Am I feeling like I'm going to miss out on something? Is that something I should be suspicious of? And are they asking for something that I usually keep secret, like my payment information or my account details? And so the third is verify, and verify independently. Remove yourself from the situation and the conversation that the scammer created. Reach out to family members, reach out to trusted phone numbers, maybe go to their actual website because people can pay for ads to have them come up to the top of your search results screens.
So if I were to boil this advice down to 3 words, we've got pause,
think, verify.
If someone realizes that they have been scammed, what should they do next?
They should contact their financial institutions and see if they should lock or freeze any of their accounts, change their passwords. They should reach out to our office.
Mm-hmm. Reach out to the Attorney General's
Reach out
office.
to the Washington Attorney General's office. We often are tracking and monitoring these types of scams, and we only know if people tell us what's happening. Reach out to the FTC. They have a really great website that talks about what to do in the case of identity theft. And then reach out to your local law enforcement because it is criminal and it is illegal.
What responsibility do you think government has to help protect us from these scams, to hold the scammers responsible, or to regulate the platforms that allow these scams to thrive?
I think government has a big role here to mitigate all social harms. Now, I would point out that there are already laws on the books that address a lot of this, right? So we have laws here in Washington State that prohibit deceptive political advertising, that prohibit use of AI and technology to distribute what we call non-consensual intimate imagery, what people have referred to as like revenge porn in the past. There are laws that give individuals a property right in their own digital likeness. Like I actually have a property right that I can enforce through civil and criminal means if someone takes my digital likeness, whether my voice or my image, and uses it in ways that are unauthorized ways for commercial gain. And we have a very robust Consumer Protection Act that provides broad protection against deceptive practices in business. What is needed is more robust enforcement, and that's something that's tough for an AG's office that has limited resources. But enforcement of those is a critical step. In terms of additional steps that could be made, I think improving transparency, like a requirement for AI companies to include what we call provenance data, or data that shows where it came from, that it was created by AI. And there's also the new law in Washington State also requires tech companies to provide tools that allow users to detect if things are AI. But personal data is what really accelerates these AI capabilities for scams. And so one of the core foundations, I think, of any type of meaningful reform are meaningful data privacy laws, which we don't have in Washington state. Some states do, California and others. There's data privacy regulations in the European Union, but it's been very slow to get traction in the U.S. There's no federal data privacy laws. So talk to your legislators. Tell them how you're affected by scams, because this is the way we drive awareness and reform.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really
Thank you very much. Thank you for having
us.
We'll be back with more Booming after a quick break.
On Sound Politics, we'll walk you through your ballot this election season.
And keep you informed about the issues defining races across the state.
Like the millionaire's tax and how it's affecting the state Supreme Court races. I'm Scott Greenstone.
And I'm Libby Dankman. Every week we break down the big storylines in this Washington and the other one.
So you will be a better informed voter and everyone's favorite party guy.
That's not a guarantee. Listen now on the KUOW app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Joshua, that was a really interesting conversation, and I love that they had actionable things that people can do to try to protect themselves against what feels like sort of an impossible adversary. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it does make me think about the nature of the advice, which is primarily to be very skeptical of everything you see online or even get in the mail or texts and calls on your phone. Mm-hmm. And I have thought a little bit more broadly about what it does to us to just go through the world extremely suspicious all the time.
Yes.
I think about this with myself because it's a silly example, but every time I see a video of an animal doing something cool, my first thought is like, that must be AI. That must be fake. Uh-huh. And I used to love when the little duckling became friends with the pig, that was a really nice thing. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And especially for younger generations who have never existed in a world without these supercharged digital scams. I have heard anecdotally that Gen Z just thinks everything is a scam. They just do not trust anything. And while that might be savvy, we sort of lose something there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's this joke in my family about this time when I was trying to sell a piece of furniture on Facebook Marketplace, and someone made me an offer, and I didn't realize at the time that Facebook Marketplace limits what you can see about the other person. So I was kind of suspicious, because I'm getting this scam skepticism. So
because you just saw a stripped down profile.
I just saw this very, there was no posts or anything. So I clicked on her and I'm like, this is a bot. And I wrote back to her and I'm like, you're not real.
Oh, God.
And then I blocked her. And my family's like, no, this is misplaced skepticism. She probably was real. You just couldn't see all her information because it's just Facebook Marketplace. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess my skepticism knob is turned a little bit too high.
Yeah, which is probably for the best, better safe than sorry. But I wonder if the antidote is, have a garage sale, do more things in person, because you can't really deep fake an in-person interaction.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But now when my family wants to tease me about something, they'll say, you're not real.
Well, I'm very glad that you are real, and I can verify that. Yeah. Thank you for the episode.
Yeah, it was fun. That's it for Booming. Thanks for listening.
We love to hear from our listeners, so if there's anything you want to reach out with, a story idea, a question about the economy, you can email us at booming@kuow.org or leave us a voicemail at 206-221-7158.
Yeah, and thanks to people who are donating to the show. It's so important. So if you want to donate, go to kuow.org/booming. And thanks.
Our producers are Lucy Suchek and Alec Cowan. Our editor is Carol Smith. Our music is by Artlist, Alec Cowan, Blue Dot Sessions, and MusicBed. I'm Monica Nicholsberg.
And I'm Joshua McNichols. And we'll see you next time.
Why is healthcare so expensive in the U.S.? How is my credit score calculated? Does immigration enforcement actually reduce crime? We all have the big, complicated questions we're curious about, and that's why we made Control F. Control F is a podcast from KUOW that explains how the world works using data. Each episode, we break down the numbers driving culture, the economy, and politics. Join the search. Listen to Control F wherever you get podcasts.